Whoa. Hmm. Echo? Hello? Echo. Yes. Echo. Ooh, don't want to blow out nobody's ears. Hello? Echo? Hello? Echo? Go. Oh. Hello. Ignore me, I'm just doing pre-stream setup. No problem. Thank you. Good to see you. Bye bye. Take care. Hello. We're still about 19 minutes before stream should go. Hello, can't hear ya. Okay. Perfect. Tell me if the volume's too loud. I can change it and lower it. But if not, we can do something about that. Okay. I believe most things are set up. How do I pop this out? Oh, okay. That works. Hmm. Let's see. Erase. Nope, not erase. I'll start around 10:50. A bit earlier, but I'll do some light talking before it, and then we can do Q&A really quick, and take it as it goes. For the most part, I'm going to pretty much just go through the whole story and just like yap and talk about it, because I believe there's a lot of things to go through on this stream, but I wanted a clear goal for it, to just like go do the story and just explain at least lightly through every page, and we could go through a fine comb later, but I'll spend like a minute on each page. So this stream should be like 2 hours long. And if you guys want it to be longer, we can do that. And if it's shorter, we can always do another stream if you want that too. But for the most part, I'm glad you guys are here, and hopefully have a good time. And you too. 5 minutes. I'll start in five. But yeah, I hope you're doing good. I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Okay, that does work perfectly. Let's see. That there. That there. Okay. Stream will start now. Hello, hello. Okay. Let's start with clearing this. Oh, what is your favorite manga and anime? Good question. Favorite manga is probably Siren, and anime probably Ghost in the Shell. It is one of the main reasons why I got into anime as deep as it did. And for why Siren, uh, actually, let's just draw the fave for manga is. I know it's a bit old, but it is. Also, sorry about the really bad handwriting. I'm using mouse, so this is not the best. And anime is Ghost in the Shell. Uh, but yeah, favorite manga is Siren. Anime is Ghost in the Shell. Reasons why, very simple. Siren is kind of what when I was growing up, I I was reading the start of the ending of the last arc for that manga, and I only really got into manga during that time span. So, but probably in middle school is when it's ended for me, and me getting into shonen during that time was one of my favorite things. And for why Ghost in the Shell is my favorite anime, there's a lot of philosophy in it. There's a lot of things happening nowadays that kind of allude are alluded to in that original movie that we're kind of going through today, which is, gosh, since 1995, I believe it came out, and a lot of the technological advances that we see or we will see is kind of coming in today that was predicted nearly 30 years ago, which is insanity to think about. But yeah, good question. It is. I get that question here and there, and it may change on the day, but those kind of will be my staples for that answer. Thank you for that. But yeah, main thing I want to get to. While if you have other questions in mind, but the main part of why this stream is gonna be a thing is I will be talking about, and let me go and review. This is the left side page of Fashionista. So, you know how books are usually read from, let's see, how am I going to draw this? So, books, right? You usually read them from uh, left to right, right? So, English language is read from that way because you write from I am tough, and then you read this way, right? Well, I'm sure since this is the audience that would know best, manga's actually read from right to left, right? And it's due to how their language works. So you read like this, and this way, right? So this page, right, actually starts over here usually. And this is, I know a lot of people are going to look at this video and think, wow, I already know how to read manga. I don't care. This is just for posterity. It's for people who don't know. And I'm just trying to set foundations for the people who are not in the know. If you're in the know, fantastic. But yeah, so keep in mind that since this top right corner is the starting point, you have to have an ending point right here, right? Which is the bottom left. And you have to imagine a book, back to the book, right? Imagine this is the big book, and this is the cover, right? You start here and you end here on every page, right? And after you flip open the cover, this big thing right here is your content, which is this essentially, right? And when I was creating this manga and I started out, I didn't know what I wanted to do of how to start a manga. Besides, I want you to be interested in the story from the get go. But to get to that point, it was a trial and error I would use, because I thought of many ways to kind of grab the audience's attentions, your attention spans, right? In a world of like, TikTok, Reddit, and everything on the planet, honestly, in the internet, and how to grab anybody's attention to read a book nowadays. And one of the best things was I needed a hook. I needed to hook you in and kind of just like, all right, we need something to hook the reader's attention. And what I thought of was, if you open a cover, right, the first thing you should see is something cool, right? Something amazing. And the first thing that I thought of was, let's have something mesmerizing and something that will grab your attention, right? And I thought of the big thing of, the big Triforce, right? From Zelda, of, Link holding out his hands. He's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And I thought of the three pinnacles of what it means to be in our world, right? First, you have power, you have fame, and you have money, right? Those are the three big things. And in our world, those are the absolute trinity, right? If you have one, you have them all. And I thought to myself, okay, we can use that as a hook to get the reader's attention. And of course, that's just the lead in. So back to the top right corner to bottom left, right? You read this page like this first, and then, wait, like this first, this, and it's read like this, right? Always. So first you would read power, right? And then this, which is 2, 3, 4. And then I know the English language is backwards, so you actually read it like this. So you would read power, the absolute trinity of the world, money, fame, or honestly, how you would read it is how you want to, but this is how the manga would dictate, right? The manga rules. You would read right to left first and then down. And then you would read, if you have one, you have them all, right? So let me review the other page. And second page, cool. So this would be the double page spread, right? Of the next page when you turn. And this would be, right here, and this would be right here, right? And of course, you read the same thing again, top right to bottom left, top right to bottom left. But with spread pages, you kind of have to read like this, alright? Because you can think of this whole panel as a page. And I'll get into the little details about spread pages later on. But the second page was quite difficult for me to like get into. And not so much the storytelling wise part of it. It was like more drawing. You see how this lady's face is like really flat? It is a limitation of me as an artist. I'm not very good at drawing 3D shapes yet. So, of course, going through the manga, you're gonna see that evolve. But this is like the second time Like the second time I really wanted to make a page, since this was page 2, right? And it took a while for me to, probably by page 50, I'll be able to like show a concrete evidence of what I mean by this face looks flat, right? And these hands, they look 3D, right? But this mouth looks flat, this face looks flat. It just doesn't look like it's popping out at you that most manga would, right? Or more more clearly, it'd be like art in general. So again, top right to bottom left. This page is really flat. These hands are more 3D, and to the content, it's when this world is there's a step beyond those 3 pinnacles. Continuing from the last page, right? This page, right? So referencing the pinnacles, and we go the one thing that reigns supreme in this world, right? And back to the triangle. It's in this lady's hands, right? And she's smirking. We go into another, I wouldn't call it a spread page. It's more like a dual page, right? And by dual page, it's more, how do I say this? It's more, sorry, I'm going to adjust this to be, does that look better? Okay. Back on topic, back on topic. So this is a mirror page, but it's supposed to be, in a sense, back to the book, right? When you open this up, you see 2 images. Right, this is right, this is left, right? And it's supposed to be, you're caught off guard by this face, right? You're like, okay, you saw this face from the previous page of page 2, right? And this is her head again. And this is a bit backwards for storytelling purposes. You're introduced to her head. You're like, okay, we've seen her in the previous 2 pages. And then you're like, oh, interesting. She's having her face reconfigured in a lot of senses, right? She's having a makeup session, essentially. And, you stare back. You're like, okay, you can see some differences, right? And back to starting top right to bottom left. You go this way, right? And you end on the words fashion. This is the answer to what is being alluded to in the previous 2 pages, right? Very simple. But this page was made in a sense of, can you spot the differences? And it's kind of playing with your attention of going back and forth between these 2 pages. And why I said this was kind of like a spread page was, this is, in a sense, one big panel. They're just separated, right, a little bit. But to one page, one panel cannot hold the contents of both these at once, right? And I'm making use of mirroring these panels to give this effect of, this is the after, right? But even though this is page 4, so it comes before, obviously, page 5, right? We get the after shot first, right? And then we get the before. So continuity is very important when you're reading, right? So you're confused as the reader. You're like, okay, we get the after shot before, and then we get the before shot after. And then you're jumping back and forth confused. And of course, you end at the fashion text box. This is on purpose. This is all on purpose for good reason. And I'm not going to explain what the purpose of it was. Your imagination will probably do better than whatever I explain. But it was on purpose. There was meaning to it. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Time for page 6 and 7. Let's see if I can align this properly because I want to give the proper effect of how this should look. No, that's not it. So I'm trying to mess around with OBS just a little bit to give you a better look at this. So that looks better. And here we have another spread page. So this is the third spread page in a row, right? And of course, start top right and bottom left. Yes, I'm gonna keep doing that for all these pages because it's very important that because for myself when I was going through this, it was really important for me to keep track of how the continuity of a page began and ended. So we go, fashion is present, is the present, trying its best to be the future, so we can be prepared for for the moment that future becomes the now. And you get the distant scene of some city, right? You get a airplane, you get a helicopter, and you get a welcome sign, right? Nice little start to the series, and it ends with to be at the top means to be present, and to be present means you know what it truly means to be alive. These text boxes, these triple double page spreads, this introduction, this hook, they're all useful. Useful in the sense of it's trying to do just one thing. I'm trying to grab your attention. And if I did with these pages, that means I did my job correctly. And if I didn't, I need to do a better job and get better at it. Right? Okay. On to the story, right? Onto the actual panels of this series. So let's rearrange OBS a little bit better because I am not doing that properly. Alright, and let's see. That looks, I think, better, right? Okay. And feel free to ask questions, ask away. I'm just going to keep talking. So, first panel, right, I ever made that is like part of an actual story, right? So this page is basically the first panel to the story. Like if you get rid of the first few pages of intro and hooking, this is the first panel. This guy right here. And I know background's empty, background empty, background empty. Yeah, I need to work on that. I know someone's gonna say in the future, background empty. I know, it is. Don't worry, I know. So we focused on this girl. We don't know who she is yet, right? But we get introduced immediately to the concept of continuity, right? To the hook, to the things that we just saw in the previous pages, right? This girl is talking about the triangle, right? Talking about the triangle, right? But crossing it out this time. And we're introduced to a wide shot of where is she at. And I know for a lot of North Americans, they will recognize the tables being a school table. But for a lot of different people from different parts of the world, they might not get that immediately. Sorry, dry throat. But to get around that, as the storyteller, I had to think of, okay, what's the best way of dealing with that, right? This is a close-up view. This is a close-up view. This is the same close-up view as this, right? But to give the audience a sense of belonging, of like where they're staying inside these panels, you have to have a way of telling them where they're at, right? And this is that panel. And I know I cut this panel a bit short because I added this panel. It's kind of, I call them sub panels. So this panel is inside, overlaid inside a bigger panel, right? And it tells a kind of smaller story of, okay, main panel, this is what we're focusing on. Then that, then that, then this, right? So that's the order of this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? But I didn't have the room to. Oh, hello, Navarros. Hello, hello. And thumbs up to you too. Big, big, big. So I didn't have any idea of how to deal with trying to have a. Oh, hello, Kiar Kaimari. Hello. Ancilia Journal. Hello, hello. I will continue yapping. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will try my best to look over while I'm talking about whatever I'm yapping about. But yeah, I wanted to have some idea of keeping this panel as a wide shot, but I needed to I had to have some idea of continuing the story step by step, right? Because I had 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, and 4. But I wanted to cut this scene short, so I added this sub panel, right? This scene has something happening. The story's already started, right? We're just jumping in the middle of some weird scene, right? And of course, I wish I could draw my own manga, but hate my own. I feel that. Let me read that out loud properly. I wish I could draw my own manga, but I hate my own drawings. I feel that, Celia. I feel that. I do not like looking at my own drawings sometimes. They are. They, it hurts to look at yourself because this is, in a sense, a reflection of your own skill, right? But for me to remind you of something, if I can, your skill is nothing to be ashamed of. Your drawings are awesome. They're better than me. Your skill is not a reflection of how good you are. Yes, mine. Your drawings are awesome. They're better than mine. I'm going to be absolutely real with you. Your drawings are great if you start somewhere and you keep going. If you keep telling yourself that your art's not good, you'll never get anywhere. Right? You can't put yourself down because if you just keep doing that, you're never going to get anywhere with it. Drawing is not important. The reader will mostly see your text in manga. Yes, drawing is not important. The reader will mostly see your text in a manga panel. A lot of manga nowadays, right, goes to that point of saying, not showing, right? And Fashionista was made with the intent of showing more than it tells. I want to do manga panels for my fan fiction. Oh, that if you're if you're passionate about it, run with it. That is my big and key thing. If you absolutely can do it and have the time to do it, I recommend you just hop into it and run with it. Passion will lead is a great starting step. Remember when you get down that what gets you to the finish line, right? On any project is the grit that is grit, right? Just literal grit that you just take it slowly. Do one thing at a time. And for Fashionista, when I was making this, I did it 1 page, sometimes, just half a page a night. And that's what it was of just me recording it and showing it to kind of just show to you guys you can do it too. I want to do a manga panel for my fan fiction, but my drawings suck. I believe your drawings are better than you say. I truly do. A lot of people who say their drawing sucks and they're not good. if they suck. Like if they truly suck, then you'll get better. I'm sure of it. But I don't believe that they suck. I really don't. When people look at their own art, they will say that it sucks, and I'm like, I really hate that when you look at your own art too much, you're like, oh yeah, it's not as good as somebody else on the internet, right? All this amazing art. Those people didn't start making art, just amazingly overnight. They spent years, decades to make their art. So don't compare yourself to those people, right? Compare it to yourself and how good it will be. But yep, mastering paneling is something everyone can learn, and with and without drawing. Super important. You can make a good manga with good paneling, but bad drawings. Like the first One Punch Man manga. Yep, that's absolutely true. One made One Punch Man and Mob Psycho, and although his art is not as pretty, I would use the word, as other people's mangas, the storytelling is the meat of the manga. I do my own art hashtag. You should check out my art hashtag. I got most of my art on there to look at it. I'll be sure to see it later when stream's over, okay? At the moment, I will continue on what I was yapping about. But yep, please continue chat. I'm monitoring chat as closely as I can. So, what was I saying? So, jump here, jump here, jump here, right? Then jump here, then jump here. And then imagine this was like, the book, right? This is the whole book. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right? This is the book. This page is this page, and this page is this page, right? And the big thing for this middle part is this would be the spine of the book, right? You know, how you look at a book, it's like this, right? This would be the spine of it, right? And this is usually dead zone because of how a book is read, right? And how it's kind of put together. It's like this, right? This middle part is kind of like squished in, right? You'll see it when you open a big book, right? And this space here, right, where the art is a bit cut off, that's on purpose, right? Manga is done in a way where they try to make use of every piece of the page without getting it like kind of cut off. You'll see in a lot of manga, right, where the middle section is actually used, the spine parts, and then the art gets like really weird. And if I were to show it in a better light, I would try to get a better an image for it, but you'll see it, right? I don't have a good example on it offhand, but this part right here is usually dead zone. But I get it that, spread pages will use the whole page, which I did in the previous two. I'll show it. I shouldn't just talk about it. Like right here. Right here. Right? I'm using the full page, right? And here it would be using the whole thing, and there's no dead zone here, right? I'm writing so this part right here is the dead zone I was talking about, right? But I'm still using it to give this image of this is a full big panel, trying to give the audience a better view of what's in my head, right? And this is done on purpose. I weighed the pros and cons of making this 2 panels, blah blah blah. But even with the dead zone in the middle, right, you can still read this page because I set the text to the side, right? And that's on purpose. I didn't want the page to be, if you set this over here, right, the text box would be like right here, and it gets cut down right in the middle. Can't have that. It's just not good storytelling. So, you shove the text boxes to the right, to the left, away from the spine, right? And since it's away from the spine, you don't have to deal with it being cut in half, right? And you can read it properly. Art can be cut in half. I know. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be cutting your art in half." That just I you have to make a decision when you're making like double spread pages, right? Double pages, they're gonna be cut in half when you put it into a book, and weighing the pros and cons of it, the pros came out of this page looks better as a spread page, so you gotta take it. You gotta take the bad parts with it too, right? Okay, let's go back to this. So this is page 8 and page 9, right? And oh boy, I am going slower than I thought. Okay, I'm gonna try speeding up a little bit, right? So we enter here, we get some footsteps, we get a face, right? And then we immediately get footsteps. Actually, we get an intro right here in the far deep depths of this panel. So here, then here, then here, then here. So I don't have to show her full body because she is shown right here, right? In kind of cartoony small detail. But this is a good introduction. This to this to this to this, right? It's all done in a way where you can follow the character and know who you're looking at without having, back and forths and not understanding who I'm referencing, right? Because you see her, she's right here, right? You see her, she's right here. It's a difference of how paneling works and how you keep a perspective consistent in your own head, right? And keeping the audience's, I guess, cognitive load low. Because if I show her face, right? Face. So we're looking at Major dead on, right? And then we're looking from her eyes, right? Down, right? So that would be this, and that's this, right? And that, in a way, it was set up in a. Sorry, I'm trying to find the words. We're looking at the perspective immediately of looking at Major. Then we're looking through her eyes, right? At the content of these panels. And then we're looking from the back of her head. In a sense, it's continuing that perspective, right? But then when we're looking at that perspective and we're continuing it, we're looking deep into the panel and we see these three characters, right? And then we go back out and we continue that perspective of, okay, we're faced with somebody new. And that somebody new is walking. That somebody new has swiped the notebook. And those people that we just saw here get enlarged, but now they're circling Major, right? She's over here, right? All of this is taken into account, but that's the point of paneling. You have to be able to continuously hold your audience's attention for the page. And I'm not sure if I've done it well. You guys will tell me. But that's the point of paneling, right? Also, this panel, this kind of sub panel, I think about it now, I don't really like it. It's kind of a cut in that I don't like. It's a sub panel, right, of Major's eyes, and it's covering her side of her head, right? It's a really cheap and easy way of, I don't really draw eyes sideways really well. Like, this was during the beginning stages of Fashionista, right? Page 9 of all things. So I wasn't very confident about my drawing skills of like drawing Major's eyes from the side. So I didn't draw her eyes from the side, right? You look at the side eyes, right? You look at the side eyes, right? They're not very good. So instead of doing that, I just got away with, you know what? We're just gonna draw her eyes dead on, but then cover the side of her face. So it's a cheap and easy way of not dealing with that, right? But now that I'm finished with, you know, the later pages, I'm thinking, oh, if I were to redo this panel, I wouldn't do this. I would just draw the side of the face, right? So it's one of those things of you get better, right? You get better in your own art and you get better and learn a bit, right? But yeah. So hop, hop, then hop, right? And then, hey, you know what day it is, right? And then, sorry, let me make this a bit bigger for myself. And then we have intro, right? Intro. And then this is like that, and then it's like that, right? Of course, remember, top right to bottom left. So go here, and then we flip the page, right? Continuing the idea that this is a book, right? Imagine this is a book. So now we just flip the page, right? We're flipping the page. And since we're flipping the page, we start at the top right again. Remember, go to bottom left, stop. Same. But, okay. Page 10, that's right, it's Friday. And we see this person, right? Holding the notebook she just swiped. Continuity. Keep the audience's attention, right? Keep them understanding the situation step by step. And she says, "Oh, it's Friday, right?" And you see Major get out of her seat, reaching forward, right? Trying to grab the notebook back. Very simple. As she sits back down, and you get this person laughing in her face. Very quick succession of events that would happen, even in real life, right? And also mention speed lines, but I'll go into speed lines later. Speed lines are motion lines, and you'll see motion lines here, like here, right here, and this is a speed line too, technically. So we get business smile, we get her tilting her head. Major slams the desk. I do like this panel. I know this sub panel is not that good. I would do this better now, but I like this panel when I made it. And this is a undershot of looking like this was a fun panel of looking upwards, right? From the bottom. Imagine from the desk, right? This would be the desk, and then it goes through the desk, right? And this would be that panel. I really like this panel when I made it. Nowadays, I would do it better, but I really enjoyed it when I made it. And then we get the continuity of the bullies leaving, right? So let's get to this, and then remember, top right, bottom left, top right, bottom left, right? So the bullies leave. Major size. This panel, I will cross out and just redo it entirely if I could, because what I was going for with this panel was actually really simple. I wanted this kind of spider web feeling of warping, of like the classroom panel from before, right? And I'm gonna show that panel, this panel, right? I wanted this to be warping, where the center line kind of goes in the middle, right? Sorry. Where this panel turns like this, right? Where this is at the center of the panel. And in a sense of, this was the most important thing in this page, not Major itself, right? The things that the bullies took from her, right? In this case, her notebook, right? her notebook, and make it the focus of this panel. And I didn't really do that really well because thinking about it on it now, the art needs to be good enough, right, to convey that idea. But that's kind of what I was going for with this panel. And I would probably redo it. That's what I was getting at. It's not good. The art's not very clear. It looks kind of strange. It's just like this is not that detailed, but it still conveys properly. This is more detailed, and then you get this, and I'm like, ooh, this panel was like, it's kind of the centerpiece of the whole page, right? And it's not very detailed. It's not very good, and that's I'll leave it at that. But yeah, here continuation, here continuation, and Major picks up her notebook after this panel, right? After this panel, and goes to this panel, right? And she's smacking it to get the dirt off. And she's thinking to herself, right? These are internal monologue speech bubbles. And sideways is not the way to go when you're doing speech bubbles. Remember, you should do them horizontally. I didn't really get that until like later. So, yeah, these panels are all over the place in quality, but those are the learning pains of making a manga. You kind of learn the little things as you go on. The nice thing about this panel is the ruffles in the skirt here. I actually really like these. The ruffles are really nice, right? I like that. That tells a lot for me. Let me see. That is a so this is page, I believe, page 10, right? And it shows the difference. They're smooth here, right? Lines are smooth, and then they're ruffled because Major is shaken because of the bullies, right? The art tells a story, and I believe that wholeheartedly because Major was in a different sense of mind in page 10 to page 12, and it should be more apparent, I know, but that's just how art is. But yeah, give me a second. I'm gonna drink some water. Okay. So done with that page, and then we continue on to this page. This page actually got redrawn. This is the redrawn version of it. The original version was not very good. I was like, we had like little chibi figures that were drawn kind of like this, right? And that's not exactly what I was going for. So I redid it, and the detailing on this page took a long time, but I really like what ended up happening. So we get the back of Major's head again, right? Back of her head and back of her head, right? And the zoom in is super important for me, right? Because it leads into the next page, but it also gives an insight to the audience, right? These insight bubbles. And we have second period, third period, fourth period to note transition of time, right? And for people who are not in North America, it just means different classes that we go to. I know. School system, we use periods instead of saying class 1, class 2. It's strange. I know. Just go with it. But yeah, it's very simple. I wanted these panels to be, I wanted them to be like 4 comma. If you don't know what 4 comma is, it's just 4 pages. 4 panels. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And they usually depict transitions of time. And in this, I wanted to keep that without doing the full 4 comma. And instead, I did second period, third period, and fourth period. And remember, top right, bottom left, these bubbles, right? They cross that line, right? And this, it's all done on purpose. Of there's a second period, there's third period, fourth period, right? It's all lined up on the right side, right, while the bubbles are all following that same axis of like, top right, bottom left. They all follow this line, all on purpose. It's just to make the audience's eyes a little less weary. I don't have the bubbles all over the place, right? Okay, page 14. Also, I'm just saying, if this stream I don't get through everything, I'll just do another stream. But I'm trying to do as much as I can today without, I'd use the word, wearing myself out. I have never streamed this way, so we're gonna see how long the stream can go. But yeah, alright. This page. I like this page. This page was the first time I really used like white on black. This white, I didn't have a white pen before this, like literally. So I only had black pens. So I had to buy a white pen. And remember, analog is really difficult versus digital, right? Digital meaning on your computer or on a tablet or even on your phones, right? Analog meaning paper, pencil, with a pen, right? Something you can hold that is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's imperfect. When you're drawing with a pencil, right, you're going to see a lot of smear marks. You're going to see a lot of little detailing that you didn't intend sometimes, right? But in the low analog detailing, the imperfections look, in some senses, they look kind of better than digital in some senses, in my opinion. But yeah, if you were going to look into the difference of what they mean, just think analog, you're literally just using a pencil, versus using digital, you're probably using a stylus. Again, just for posterity. So, start at top right, go to bottom left, right? And remember, panels are right to left and then down. So that this is the hop, right? And this page I remember really enjoying of every panel same size, and these are happening right at the same time essentially, right? Because this is the world outside of Major's mind, this is the world inside Major's mind, right? And they're going downwards, right? But remember, manga's read from right to left, then down, right? So it's actually doing this. Remember that. So two interesting things are happening on this page. The down and then the right. Because you're supposed to read endure, but sometimes I can't help but think that. Endure? What is the point of the future? Endure. If I give up my present self. But you can also read it this way, alright? And it still makes sense. That's all on purpose. Because this page, when I thought about it and like the concept of paneling, right? It should make sense regardless of who's reading it and how they read it. That's how I believe paneling should work. Of course, even in this manga, some paneling takes some. I want to use the word finagling, but I think it's not the correct word. It takes a lot of workshopping, right? And this page came out really well, paneling wise. Art could be a lot better, but I really like the paneling on it, the way the story is being told, right? All of this comes together to make a very coherent, easy to read page, right? Love this page. Love this page. All right, on to page 15 after this page, right? So you go here, 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 here. Jump to this page because this is the spine, right? Remember that? And then we get the back of Major's head. And then we get endure again, right? And we're inside Major's head, right? From this panel, right? Hopefully that made sense. And she's locked in kind of I forget what they call it, padded cells. I think that's what I was looking up when I was like trying to look for references, right? And Major leaves the padded cell. Ooh, right. Story continues, right? And then we get the new page of this. Back to reality, right? And here, here again, the same thing that I was trying for on uh, the last page of making sure the continuity is it makes sense regardless of how you read it, but there should be a clear way you're supposed to read these pages panels chronologically, right? But even if you read it from top down, they still make sense. I'm just saying. But that's the point. Also, really like this panel. I thought about how to kind of cross the borders of different panels in a way that made sense, right? So this would be the before, right? And this would be the after. You know, blood's dripping from her hand, right? All the way down, and it crosses over this panel mark, right? And I thought that was cool. I'm not sure what else about it, but I thought it was cool, right? Also, mentioning movement lines, you know, these movement lines, right? To show shaking. And this was my first attempt at dynamic speed lines, whatever it's called. But yeah, like that, like this. Love these two panels. These two panels are okay. Missing background for the whiteboards. Uh, but yeah, also detailing the hair. But yeah, this page is really nice. I like that. Need to fix a lot of the backgrounds though. So into this, in this page of page 17. So we get Major coming out of the infirmary, right? That's what the plus sign is for. So mirror panels again, right? Of hand being bandaged. And in this case, these two panels are mirrors of each other, right? And I did in such a way where this would be the middle line, right? And this side would show the right and lefts of Major. So this is coming from the left side of Major's face, right? And this is coming from the right side of Major's face. That's on purpose. Because of how perspective works, I'm just kind of I was trying to take from I guess horror movies of like you look at one side of a shot, right? Oh, everything's nice and clean. And then you're like, oh, jump scare. But yeah. So now we have the continuation of this page of Major getting slapped and gets disrespected at the same time. Sorry, water. So, page 18 and 19. This page is quite simple, but I want to go through it clearly of this is background that's not done. The background here, not done, not done, not done. Right? No background done, no background done. I left that for future me to do, and yes, I know I was being lazy early, but that just means more work for me later, which is now, I guess. These pages are basically half finished because there's no background on, but kind of the point, right? On the story will tell itself we're not on campus anymore, so they're not on campus somehow, and bring out your phone, and then so hold up. The reading should be like this: top right, bottom left. Then it goes here, goes here, then goes here. Also, these speech bubbles are not bubbles. They're kind of like rectangles. They're not supposed to be that way. They're supposed to actually be bubbles. And I learned that the hard way later. So that's fun. So yeah, they get rounder over time. So then we get a, again, I was trying to make the perspective more warped here, kind of like they're surrounding Major on the ground. And if you get the reference here, cool. If you don't, that's whatever. So we get Major on the ground, she's getting surrounded from both sides, right? This is my limitation of my own art, but that's what I was going for. So Skinner memes, references, right? And we get, this is an interesting shot of how to have continuation without having multiple panels. This is one way to do it, of just showing multiple of the same item flowing down from a page, right? And it's one way of showing motion, or you can do speed lines, or you can do before and after images, right? This is one way to this is one way to do it. This is one way to do it. This is one way to do it, right? The speed lines are one way to do it. This is one way to do it. Both of these pages were, in a way, a testing ground to see if I can really pick and choose what way I want to go at for how I want for motion, right? And this was just me testing out different ways of showing motion within a 2D environment. And this kind of what I got into. So, okay. So we end on this panel, right? With the phone cracking. And it's in her eye, right? The reflections on purpose, right? That is storytelling at its finest. That I believe I ripped this from some movie, but that is me trying to be whatever it's called, cinematographer. But yeah, I ripped this style of telling a story from somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, I like that. It was cool, so I added that. I added it, yes. And back to this page. I mean these pages. So Major's on the ground on the sideways, right? Transition panels, right? Of her turning, rotating, right? Very important. I wanted Major to get back on her feet in some way or form, right? And the best way I could do it was slowly, step by step, right? So she turns, I think, 45 degrees every panel in these three ones, right? So it looks like she's getting up, and then this is where she ends up, right? So it's like this, then this, and then like this, right? That's what it ends up being, right? And that's kind of the effect that I was trying to get at. The art's not as good as I wanted it to be, but that's what I kind of wanted to get at. So, like, ooh, my bad. Like this. So that's the path. Then we get here. Then we get here. And then we get here. So, very simple. Mary gets tripped. And then she gets kneed in the face. It's simple. It's clear. I like them. Page good. At least that's why I would like to say page good. So on to page 22, 23. Let's see. Ooh, sorry. So mirrors, again, I'm mirroring panels, right? Because I don't know any better. But I'm trying to get this effect of, okay, this is outside in the street. And inside here, right? This is supposed to be an alleyway. I know it's not very clear just because the art's not very good. Inside this alleyway, right, is this, which is actually mirrored here, right? And then we get this panel. Again, before and after. So we get Major's face up here in the top right corner, right? And we end at the bottom left corner, but it's actually the opposite where her face is hidden. So this face would usually be up here, right? Since we're introduced here. But I wanted to end here to lead to this, right? So you have to work backwards. To have this page start here, you have to go here to here. So you have to start with Major's face being cut off, so then her face can be shown, and then it can be led to this panel. And these panels are very simple. 4 coma styled, and it just shows Major breaking down, right? But it shows intention. Remember where you want to end up at, right? You have to know where you want to get to, right? And the path to do it is sometimes backwards. But yep. Sorry, coughing. And yeah. Page is, let's see, what part of the page I'm at? What part? So, okay. Major's done breaking down. She's asleep on the ground. We're introduced to a new character with the sun behind him, right? He kneels down. Major's on the ground. By the way, no backgrounds, because who even cares about backgrounds when you don't know how to draw, right? More no backgrounds, right? No backgrounds. So this man is just randomly shaking his head. And this panel is very important to me. It shows care, right? A lot of subtlety and softness in storytelling comes from not the words. And this is one of them, and this is the continuation of it. There's no words on this page, but you can tell, right? There's a gentleness to it that I was trying to get at. There's not a lot of words for good reason. I could put plain text on this and just shove it in your face. How boring. So I tried my best to cut out as much wording unless it's necessary throughout the story. And this is kind of what I got to, right? We see Major's face. We see this unknown person's face. Looking down, shaking his head. Moving Major's hair out of her face, right? And then here, we see him looking down, right, at Major. All of it's on purpose. All of it. So, let's go to the next 2 pages. And this is the continuation of that idea. When when art is not enough and words are necessary, I better be concise about it. Still alive at least, but for how long? So, goes here, goes here, goes here, and oh, wait. Here, then here, right, and then here. And it's super important that you have both words and the art, right? Because they support each other. Kind of like 2 sticks, right? When they're trying to hold something up. Art is on one side, right? And the words on the other. Without one, you don't really have the other. And that's what I really like about manga. And it shows. Both, it hits just a bit harder. It makes it a bit easier to tell a good story. So, back to the square dialogue. Back to the square dialogue boxes. They're not really speech bubbles because they're not circular. And we end on this panel. Oh boy, my voice is like drying out on me. Oh boy. Okay. I'll try to do my best of like keeping up for a little bit longer, but I don't think I'll last that long. So I'll stop around. Let's try 33, and then if you guys want more, just tell me in the comments, and I'll do another live stream. But for the most part, talking this long is a lot. So we get into the future, right? Or the next pages. Oh boy. So starting top right, remember bottom left. So land on this panel and this panel, but we have something overlaying these two panels. I don't really like this form of overlaying, so I try not to do it again in the future for the rest of the manga. But this part is not very good, so I would redo this page if I could. But for the most part, honestly, it's just a monument to the learning I had to do for this manga. So without this piece, I wouldn't know that this doesn't work. Like layering this kind of narration box on top of the other panels, not very good, right? Takes up a lot of space on the page, and it kind of scoots everything to the side, right? Not very good. So if you try to make a manga in the future, don't overlay text box like this willy-nilly, like what I did. Also, don't do this too. Same thing, same problem here. So I'm making use of space that shouldn't be used, right? White space is used properly. It shouldn't feel like you're just like shoving text boxes everywhere. And if you have text boxes everywhere and you don't have space, right? Why do you have so much space over here, right? Right, this is all dead space. So it's one of those things of being mindful of how you use the space on the page. This is too cramped, while this is way too spacious, right? So yeah, it is a learning experience of understanding how the page works, and this was still a bit early in the creation of this manga, so I got to learn a lot about that. That these little narration boxes just do not work in the way they are placed currently on these two pages, right? So yeah, page is simple, majors in some memory, right? And we get 4 comma here, right? Simple. 4 comma here. So they're back just immediately back to back, right? And this was done on purpose, obviously. Where if this is the spine, right? 2, 3, 4. These are happening at the same time, right? Sorry for the coughing. I usually don't talk this much. But yeah, this was done on purpose. And these two pages are mirrors of each other in a sense of the effects that's happening here on each page, right? Gets more severe as the page progresses, but then obviously every page starts from top right to bottom left, right? So the continuity goes from here to here, right, to here. So the severity actually starts low bigger, bigger, and bigger, and then bigger, bigger, bigger until it encloses Major's hand completely. All on purpose. There's a purpose to all of it. Until we get here. We get to invert the colors. Right? And this was on purpose. I wanted to invert the colors, and it turned out pretty cool. Alright. Remember? Top right, the bottom left. And right here. I wanted to do two things. I wanted this planet to be more, I used the word stand out more. So I did two things. The coloring is curved, or the shading, I would say. And the background is like this, right? It's vertical, but there's cross hatching all from the back of it. Just to make this middle part stand out more. Here, we get Major chilling in the cart, rolling back. And we get way more cross hatching here, right? More cross hatching here, more cross hatching here, more cross hatching here. And remember, top to bottom, top right to bottom left, right? And then I'll end stream in a little bit. I don't think my voice is gonna hold out any longer, so. But yeah, it has been a joy to stream. I just wish my voice held up a bit better today. But yeah, so page 34, start on the top right, right? And right here, go to bottom left, and then go here, right? Same thing, same thing. But this time, this page was kind of done in a sense of, with the idea of layering in mind. So there's a background happening, right? All of the white space right here is all background. But all the black parts of the check, like this is a checker pattern essentially. You know, you have black, then white, then white, then black, right? Then black, then white, then white, then black. This is just to be kind of entertaining, but also to give I was trying to do a lot of things on these pages, of just like trying different things. And this was an idea I came up of. What if I layered multiple panels on a background, right? But not just that. I turned it into a kind of negative and positive of, this is the present in white, and the very shaded part is in black, right? So, you know, you get that nice checkerboard feeling, right? That checkerboard feeling of just like, oh, that's all black, and then etc., right? But yeah, I tried a lot of different things with these, and whether they worked or not, who knows? But it looked pretty cool. It was like, this kind of stands out, right? And so you have your eyes jump back and forth, right? All on purpose, all to keep your attention, right? But yeah. And then we go to this page, and this page, page 35, is actually kind of a mirror on this page, right? Because when you turn the page, they're both left pages, but then this one is before this one, right? So this page will be on top of this page, right? But when you turn that page, it reveals this. All on purpose. I did that for a good reason. Because this book is supposed to be read as a physical book, right? So every page was thought of like, you know, right and what? My bad. right and left. So every even number is a right page and every odd number is a left page, right? And reading both of them side by side is actually the main focus of this. And I don't know how to better explain it besides if you look at this as a physical copy, every page, right, makes more sense because they were written as dual pages. Every right and left page, right, were made together, were written together, right? Whether or not the art is drawn in that way, I have no idea. Like, you you can read me in the comments and rake me over the coals because it's not exactly that way when it's shown. But that's kind of the intent. So, let's get to this part, and I'll end after these. So, Major's back in her dream. We're back in her thoughts in a sense, right? And then riding the mine cart, right to left, right, right. Actually, this is a bit weird. I'm starting at bottom, go up, and then we're going up. But there's a reason for that. I'm trying to do this, then this, right, then this, then this, right, then this, and she's looking up, right. Looks up to here because when we look down and then we go here, then we go here. Turns head. This head is very similar to this, and then the smile. All of that to say, from here to here, right? That's what I'm getting at. Sad face, happy face. Disheveled, makeover. These pages were done for a good reason, and I don't know how better to explain it besides a lot of thought and care went into these pages when I was planning them out. Whether or not I'll come across like even a fraction, 1% of it came across. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, I believe there's not any new questions, so I will call it there. I hope you enjoyed the ramblings of a madman, and if you want more, let me know in the comments. I really enjoyed doing this, but my voice is just not happy today, so I'm gonna have to call it early, unfortunately. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I love doing this. I loved making this manga. I loved talking about it. I'm so excited to just share it with you guys. But there's not enough time in the world to talk about the things you like, is there? But it's always good to be passionate about it. Thank you for your time. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.